Years ago, an icon was a religious symbol. A window was a wooden object with glass that you tossed a ball through after your parents told you not to. And a mouse was a cute little cartoon character. Today, for some people, an icon is a symbol on your computer that represents something. A window is a graphical interface. And a mouse is still a cartoon character, but it's also a peripheral that hooks into your computer. Some people love working with computers, but then again, some people love to jump into frozen Arctic water every January. Working on a computer can be a hassle and a pain. In fact, computers can cause quite a headache. Well, the purpose of this video is to prevent those headaches. Windows 95 without headaches will teach you the basics. In fact, that's where we'll start. After the basics, all those terms you heard before will make sense. Then we'll introduce you to the Explorer. That's where all your files are kept. From there, we'll show you the control panel. Next, we'll jump into a pool of assorted topics, such as printing, using DOS, keyboard shortcuts, and the clipboard. And finally, we'll discuss the help features of Windows 95. During this video, we'll be using 4 icons to help guide you along. Their job is to let you know we're mentioning something you should be particularly aware of. Anytime we use a term that might make you ask, now exactly what does that mean? This little computer guru will appear. Think of the guru as that great one who knows everything about computers. We think that after watching this video and using your computer a little bit, you'll find that the hardest thing about being a computer guru is getting your legs to cross the way the guru does. When we come across something that is a change from previous Windows programs, you'll see this. Pay special attention to this icon, Windows veterans. Windows 95 has many changes over previous Windows, and you'll definitely need to know about them. Once you get familiar with them, you'll be glad they went and changed things on you. To avoid headaches, we'll give you little tidbits of advice or tips that'll make Windows 95 even easier. That's when you'll see the light bulb. This video is just full of bright ideas. And finally, with computers, there will always be things you need to watch out for. We'll try to prevent you from making mistakes by giving you a warning. This stick of dynamite will come flying in whenever there's potential for danger. Don't worry though, with the help of this video, you can act as your own personal bomb squad. Oh, and one more thing. In each section, you'll meet one of my friends, whose job it is to point out various items on the screen. Now let's get down to learning Windows 95. In this section, we'll give you all the rudimentary skills and knowledge you'll need to get around in Windows 95. The first thing we'll do is go over a few basic terms you'll hear throughout the video. These will be old hat if you're even a little familiar with computers, but don't worry, we'll be brief. First, we have icon. An icon is like Elvis. No, wait, that's an idol. This is an icon. An icon is a symbol that appears on the screen to represent something. This icon is for My Computer. It's simply a picture of a computer. Clever, isn't it? It's through this picture that you'll get to stuff that's in My Computer. So you see, an icon represents something. And yes, I guess Elvis is an icon.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Now let's talk about our mouse. I'm sure we all know it's the little plastic thing that moves around the arrow or pointer on our screen. What we need to be aware of is that it has 2 buttons on it with 2 different uses. The left mouse button is the one we'll be using constantly, so it will probably wear out first. We'll use it to open files, folders, and applications, or to choose menu items or tools by clicking or double-clicking. And in case you don't know, double-clicking is simply pressing the button twice in a row very quickly without moving the mouse. If we do this wrong, we'll be forced to do it again. The left button is also used to drag and drop things. To drag, we point to something, press the left mouse button and hold it down, then move the mouse around. When we let go of the left button, we'll drop that object like a bad habit. Now, the right button is another story. It does a lot of fancy things. It gives us special menus, and it allows us to create shortcuts. We'll see how in the Control Panel and Explorer sections later in this video. Now, even though the right button is lots of fun, the left mouse button will be the primary button by default. Default is a term that gets tossed around a lot. Windows 95 assumes that we want things to be done in a certain way unless we tell it differently. That's what we mean by default. So if we want the right mouse button to be the primary button, we've got to tell Windows 95 we want it that way. You'll see how in the Control Panel section in this video. See this surface? It's the work area where we do, work. It's referred to as the desktop. Everything that happens in Windows 95 takes place here. On our desktop, we'll see the Start button, the taskbar, and the icons My Computer and Recycle Bin. Yes, it's quite a difference from the previous versions of Windows. Notice it's much cleaner, and as a result, it's friendlier and easier to use. Let's look at the two elements on the desktop. Remember My Computer? It's a Windows 95 icon that gives us access to the various components of our computer. We'll open the My Computer window with a mouse by pointing to its icon and double-clicking with the left button. Inside we'll see such things as the hard drive, the floppy drive, the CD-ROM drive, control panel, and printers. But let's first take a close look at the window itself. It has many features that are common to most windows in Windows 95. At the top of the window is the title bar. The title bar tells us what window we're looking at. Below the title bar is the menu bar. The most common items in virtually any menu bar are File, Edit, View, and Help. By the way, a menu is a list of choices available to us. For instance, a dinner menu is a list of available foods in a restaurant. A computer menu is a list of available commands. Let's look at the Edit menu in the My Computer window. When we click on the Edit menu, a list of options drops down, including Cut, Copy, Paste, and other available commands. If a command is grayed out, that command is not available at the moment. To leave the Edit menu without choosing anything, we just click outside of the menu. Now, see these little boxes? The one on the left is the Minimize box. If we click on it, the window shrinks down to the taskbar. That means it's still active, but it's minimized to give us more space on our desktop. To open it again, all we have to do is point and click. The center button is the Maximize button. When we click on it, the window will expand to fill the screen. Once a window is maximized, this button changes into a Restore button. Clicking on this button will return the window to its previous dimensions. Finally, there's the Close button on the right. Clicking once on this button closes the window. To reopen the My Computer window, all we have to do is double-click on the My Computer icon again. And by the way, the Minimize, Maximize, and Close functions can also be accessed through the title bar menu. We just click on this. It's the title bar icon. And as we can see, all of those choices are here as well. We'll find that Windows 95 has 2 or more ways of doing just about everything. Not only is it redundant, it's also repetitive. Not to mention, it happens a lot. However, it's a good kind of repetitive. It's not tedious. It simply gives us lots of options. No headaches here. Like a good carpenter, we can also make adjustments to a window. We can do this by grabbing the border of the window and dragging. When we move the pointer to an edge of the window, it'll turn into 2 little arrows. Dragging from either side resizes the window like this, and dragging from the top or bottom resizes like this. Now, let's go to any corner. Notice that the 2 little arrows are diagonal. Dragging here will change both the length and the width of the window at the same time. Okay, Time to resize the windows for a geography lesson. Here's the shape of Colorado. This would be Wyoming. Using 2 windows, we can make Oklahoma. Want to see New Jersey? Well, that's probably pushing it. Let's leave that to the experts. Notice we can also move the entire window around just by clicking and dragging a blank area of the title bar. Now, work it, baby. Okay, we're having a little too much fun here. Back to what's in a window. See this area with little arrows? This is called the scroll bar. It appears when there is more information in the window than can fit within the borders. By pointing to these arrows and clicking, we'll see what else is there. By the way, this little box is called a thumb. For quick scrolling, we can click and drag the thumb. Or we can click on the scroll bar above or below the thumb to move up or down one screen full of information. As we scroll through the window to see everything, you may be wondering how the icons get arranged. Well, it all depends on whether or not we want our icons to align with each other in a grid pattern. If we click on the View menu and select Line Up Icons,
line up, you maggots!
All the icons will automatically align with one another, like so. If this is a bit too rigid for your artistic ways, you can rearrange the icons any way you like. Have fun. Create neat patterns. Okay, Helpful Hint fans, here comes a really cool one, and it involves toolbars. In case you don't know what a toolbar is, we'll show you what one looks like. At the top of the View menu, we'll see Toolbar. Selecting it causes a toolbar to appear under the menu bar. Now, basically, a toolbar is a group of icons that perform tasks normally found in menus. For example, this scissors icon represents Cut. Rather than going into the Edit menu and selecting Cut, we can simply click on this icon. This is nothing new to Windows users, but here's where the hint comes in. The toolbar in many windows is hidden by default. We'll have to select it from the View menu to use it. Toolbars change from window to window depending on what the window is all about. So open up those toolbars, remain calm, and utilize this advantage of Windows 95 to its fullest. Now that we've seen how a window is structured, let's continue looking at some other items on our desktop, like the Recycle bin. This is where we throw away unwanted files or documents. Don't be afraid of this icon. Just because we place something in the Recycle bin, that doesn't mean it's gone. It's still there, and we can get it back out. It's just like the trash can next to our desk. The difference is that when we pull something back out of our computer's Recycle bin, it's not covered with coffee or gum. Whatever we place in it stays there until we empty the Recycle bin. When we do that, it's gone forever. So don't empty your Recycle bin until you check it and are sure there's nothing in it that you will ever need. To see what's in the Recycle bin, we point to it with a mouse and double-click, just as we did earlier to open the My Computer icon. Anything we placed in the Recycle bin since the last time we emptied it will be listed here. So, how do we empty the Recycle bin? Easy. We just click on the File menu in the Recycle bin window and choose Empty Recycle Bin. When the bin is empty, we click the Close button. Now let's look at the bottom of our desktop. We call this the taskbar. We had a brief encounter with the taskbar earlier when we were experimenting with the Minimize button. Windows 95 will let you have many windows open at the same time. Anything that's active, open, or minimized will appear on the taskbar. Notice that a button called My Computer is in the taskbar. It appears here because we currently have the My Computer window open. If we close the My Computer window, it disappears from the taskbar as well. By the way, the taskbar is movable. We can click and drag the taskbar to our favorite side of the screen, whatever that might be. Now let's talk about the Start menu. Remember when we mentioned how clean the new desktop is? Well, this little baby right here is the main reason why. Rather than littering the desktop with a bunch of group icons like in previous Windows versions, Windows 95 has consolidated them all within the Start menu. Need to start a program? The only place we need to look is in the Start menu. We'll point to the Start button and click once. No need to hold the mouse button down. The menu will stay there until we click again. The default items in the Start menu include the following: Programs, Documents, Settings, Find, Help, Run, and Shut Down. Let's look at Programs. The Programs menu item gives us access to programs available with Windows 95. Attention! Attention! If you've updated from a previous Windows, Programs is where you'll find all the program groups you had before. Notice that Programs has a little arrow next to it. This indicates more choices are available. When we point to Programs, more choices appear. The new list is called a submenu. Notice some of those items, like Accessories, will also have an arrow. Again, more choices can be found within Accessories. There are two applications in the Accessories submenu we will be seeing a lot of in this tape. The first is WordPad, a basic word processing application that comes free with Windows 95. And the second is Paint, a simple drawing and painting application. Let's go ahead and open WordPad. We do this by clicking once on it in the Accessories submenu. And here it is. Don't forget about Paint. Let's open the Start menu again and select Paint from the same place we found WordPad. We now have both WordPad and Paint open at the same time. And we can see a button for each one in the taskbar, just as we saw a button for the My Computer window when we had it open earlier. To switch between working in WordPad and working in Paint, all we have to do is click on the corresponding button in the taskbar. By the way, this is known as task switching or multitasking. Ah, yes, multitasking. A computer term for saying, not only do I know computers, but I can do several things on them at once. Now here's a good example of multitasking. We're printing out a super long document, and while our computer is busy doing that, we play a game or two of solitaire, blast 43,000 aliens out of space single-handedly, or maybe even do some real work on a spreadsheet. We're using our computer to do several things at once. It's as simple a concept as walking and chewing gum at the same time, but it's not quite as complicated. Now that we know what multitasking is, let's close WordPad and Paint for the time being. We can do this by clicking on the close boxes, just like any other window. Now we're going to go back to the Start menu and take a look at the Documents item. Documents are the files we create with various programs. Examples include a letter created in WordPad or pictures created in Paint. For all practical purposes, documents are files, and that's pretty much what we'll be calling them in this video. Anyway, it's important to know that files go into folders, and that folders hold files. We can rename files and folders by clicking their name, waiting, and clicking again. Be careful not to click on the icon itself or to click too quickly. Speaking of naming files and folders, Windows 95 gives us a lot more liberty in this area. In the old days, we were limited to the 8.3 method, meaning we could only use 8 characters like PRESLTTR, then put a period, and finish with a 3-character add-on like TXT for text. Well, sure, that was functional, but it didn't give much room to be very descriptive. And that could lead to confusion, especially if someone else had to find something in our files. Well, now we can give really long names to files. For example, that old file now can be called Letter Written to the President of the United States, explaining in great detail exactly why Larry Fine should have his own stamp, and to heck with Curly and Moe. In fact, we could give a file a name with up to 250 characters, if we were so inclined. But for now, let's throw away our file and go to Documents in the Start menu. The Documents menu item provides access to the 15 most recent files we've worked on. For example, if we wanted to access a letter that we wrote yesterday to Aunt Esther, we could do that quickly through the Documents submenu. We would just click on it here rather than rummaging through the hard drive. We'll find all other documents in Explorer. Hang on, we'll dig deeper into Explorer in the next chapter. Next is Settings. The Settings option gives us access to the control panel, printers, and taskbar settings. We can then modify them to fit our own computing needs. So Settings is a way of setting up our computer. We'll see more about settings in the control panel and assorted topics sections later in the video. On to Find, a wonderful little option that allows us to look for a file or a folder in our system with as little as a few characters or letters that appear in its name. This feature can save us a lot of time. For example, we have a file titled Poems About Cabbage. Under Find, we're going to select Files or Folders from the submenu. Next, we'll type in Poem and click the Find Now button. And Windows 95 will find any file in which the word poem appears. This is especially helpful if we can't remember whether we named the file Poems About Cabbage or Poems on Cabbage or Sauerkraut Poems. Now we'll click on the Close box and move on to Help. Help is Windows 95's way of saying, if something doesn't make sense, here's your information booth. With a variety of topics, it can answer almost every question we have. If we need help, we can open it here. We'll talk about how to use Help in the appropriately named Help section at the end of the video. Another way we can run programs in Windows 95 is by using the Run command in the Start menu. Chances are we won't have to use this very often, but if we know the exact name of the program and its path, meaning what drive or directory it's on, we can type it in the Run dialog box. Or we can simply browse for that program in the List box. A list box is an area within the dialog box where we'll be offered several choices. We'll see more about dialog and list boxes in just a few minutes. Last but not least is the shutdown item. Every time you finish using your computer, shut it down. This avoids potential problems like screen burn-in or maybe a 6-year-old with a big guzzler from Zippy Mart. Okay, enough about the Start menu for now. If our computer could speak, it would say, "We have ways of making you talk," and it's called a dialog box. It's a window asking us for information in order to carry out what we want it to do. For example, if we run WordPad and ask the computer to open a file, it will need more information, such as which file we want to open and where it's located. We can tell that a dialog box will appear when we see a command followed by an ellipses. That's 3 dots. Now let's look at the various components of a dialog box. We'll start by using the Open dialog box we see here in WordPad. Now's your chance to dust off that keyboard and enter some information. This is a text box. A text box is where we would type in a file name. This area is known as the list box. A list box gives us choices. If there are a lot of choices in a particular list box, we may very well see a scroll bar next to them. Many times list boxes have a connection to text boxes. Look here. When we select an item from the list box, it appears in the text box. A specific kind of list box is a drop-down list box. It appears as a text box with an arrow to the right that points down. Only one choice is displayed in the text box unless we click on the arrow, in which case more choices present themselves. Now let's leave the Open dialog box by clicking the Cancel button and take a look at the Print dialog box. Here we'll see radio buttons, also called option buttons. These buttons offer related choices from which we can choose only one. When an option is selected, a dot will appear. Sometimes our computer will give us a list of options called checkboxes. For every option that we check, that option will be carried out. A checkbox is like an on or off switch. If it's checked, it's on. For example, here's a checkbox in Print. Notice the box next to Print to File. To print to a file, we simply click once in the box and we're done. Remember, radio buttons are round and checkboxes are square. And as we learned from Mr. Rogers, circles and squares are not the same. Now let's talk about the command buttons. These are really simple. They're buttons with a command written on them. Click one and the command is carried out. Some examples that can be seen here in the print dialog box are OK and Cancel. When we click on one of these, we're telling the computer to make it so. Let's go ahead and click Cancel to leave the print dialog box, and then we'll close WordPad. At the top of some dialog boxes are tabs. Let's take a look at them. In the Start menu, we'll click on Control Panel in the Settings submenu. Now we'll double-click on Mouse. Let's use the Mouse Properties dialog box as an example. Notice that there are several tabs near the top of the window. When we click on different tabs, we get new sets of choices. If we click on the Motion tab, we get choices regarding the motion of the mouse pointer. Each tab offers separate choices. Occasionally, we'll see something called a slide bar. The Motion tab in the mouse window has two slide bars. Think of the slide bar as a control which gives you more or less of something, like a dimmer panel. In this case, the first slide bar allows us to adjust the speed of our pointer. It can give us a slow pointer or a speedy one. Let's leave the mouse control panel for now by clicking the Cancel command button. Sometimes a dialog box appears automatically. For example, if we want to empty our recycle bin, a dialog box appears and asks for confirmation before emptying. It serves as a kind of fail-safe, preventing accidental deletion. All we have to do is click the Yes command button, and anything in the recycle bin will be deleted. If we wish to keep the files in the recycle bin a while longer, we click the No button. Be sure to check your recycle bin before you empty it. When a dialog box appears, one of the command buttons always has a double line around it. A double line means that we can simply press Return on our keyboard and the command will be carried out. Remember that a dialog box is just our computer's way of asking us a question. Now let's look at what we just learned in basics. In a nutshell, we covered all the terms you need to know, like icon, clicking and dragging, desktop, default, dialog box, scroll bars, and ellipses. We learned about the new look of the desktop and how the taskbar and start button work. We also learned how to work in, move, and change the size of our windows. Now that we know all this, we can forge ahead and sink our teeth into the many wonderful things that Windows 95 has in store. A great way to manage files is something new with Windows 95 called Explorer. Explorer is like a mom. It knows where everything is. You could say, "Mom, where's that McGillicuddy report I was working on?" Or, "Mom, where's my membership file for the Flat Earth Society?" Explorer knows where everything is and how to get to it in your computer. It lets you view files and folders, copy and move files, format disks, and perform all types of file management. If you're looking for something, look in Explorer. For the most part, Explorer replaces the file manager from previous Windows. To open Explorer, click on the Start button and select Windows Explorer from the Program submenu. Let's check out the Explorer window. You'll notice two distinct columns. We'll look at the one on the left first. This displays every element available on your computer. It's arranged in a sort of a hierarchy. At the top, you'll find Desktop. Everything is included in the desktop. Underneath and to the right are other icons within the desktop, such as My Computer and Recycle Bin. Let's take a look at the My Computer icon. Note that to the left of the icon is a box with a plus sign. Now, anytime you see the plus sign, you'll find additional folders or drives inside. By simply clicking on the plus sign, all folders and drives in My Computer will be listed underneath in the left column. But to view the contents of a folder or drive, such as the C drive, we click on the C icon. The entire contents will appear in the column on the right. Now let's see what managing files and folders is all about. Here is a folder we've already created. It's titled Kansas. When we click on Kansas in the left column, we see the files within Kansas displayed in the right column. Well, there's Dorothy, Toto, and Auntie M. Now let's create another folder. We click on the C icon in the left column. Next, we'll go to the File menu, then down to New Folder. The new folder appears here. By default, it's given the name New Folder. We're going to call it Oz by typing O-Z and pressing the return key. In Oz, we'll create a new file. After we make sure the Oz icon is selected, we go to the File menu and choose New, WordPad document. A new file is created which we'll call Munchkins. Let's look at the left column again for a moment. Here they are, a folder named Kansas and a folder named Oz. Let's click on Kansas to open it. Now all the contents are on the right. Okay, great, but we want to move a file. We'll drag Toto using the left mouse button and drop him in Oz. Now let's check Oz. Gee, Toto, I don't think you're in Kansas anymore. Say we want to copy a file. Let's copy Dorothy so she's in both Kansas and Oz. There are two ways to copy. Using the first method, we'll click the file with the left mouse button and hold it down. Then we hold the Control key on our keyboard, drag the file to the Oz folder, and release both the mouse button and the Control key. Now Dorothy is in Kansas and Oz. But we don't want Dorothy in two places at once, so we'll delete one Dorothy by dragging and dropping her from the Kansas folder to the recycle bin. See you later, Dorothy. Now let's say we want to move two or more files at the same time. We do this from a third folder called Characters. In Characters, we click on the first file we want to move. Then we hold the Control key on our keyboard while we select all the other files we want to move or copy by clicking them with a mouse. Once we've selected all the files, we'll let go of the Control key. Then we simply move or copy the same way we did with one file. In this case, we'll drag the selected files to the Oz folder. These same rules apply when copying or moving folders or a combination of files and folders. If we want to move or copy contiguous files, which are a number of files that are listed together, there's an even quicker way to do it. We'll select the Oz folder in the left column, and on the right, click the first file in the group. Now we'll hold the Shift key on the keyboard, then go to the last file in the group and click it. Everything in between is selected and ready to be moved or copied. If we needed to move a whole gaggle of files, this would save us a lot of time. Remember earlier we said there are two ways to move and copy? Well, the second way lets us use the right mouse button. Let's send Toto back to Kansas. We simply right-click on the file, drag it to the Kansas folder, and release the mouse button. A menu will appear. We select Move to move or Copy to copy. There's no need to touch our keyboard. And once again, the same rule applies for folders. Okay, let's go on. You may not just want to move and copy files while in Explorer. You may want to open a file and work on it. No problem. For example, let's work on the file Munchkins, which we created a few minutes ago. We'll go ahead and put something in that file. Double-click to open it. Now we'll type away. We'll save this by selecting Save from the File menu. Then we'll close WordPad by clicking on the Close box. Here's another example. Let's see for sure whether or not Tin Man has a heart by opening him up. When you open a file in Explorer, Windows 95 automatically launches the program used to create it. A fine example of how document-oriented Windows 95 is. In this case, Paint will open along with our file named Tin Man, just as WordPad opened when we double-clicked Munchkins. Aha, our suspicions were true. Tin Man has an axe, an oil can, and a goofy funnel hat, but no heart. Let's go ahead and give him a heart. I hope Mr. Tin Man has a good health plan. Heart transplants don't come cheap these days. Now let's save the file by choosing Save from the File menu, and then exit Paint by clicking the Close box. By the way, you also have the ability to customize the Start menu, and a good way to do this is right here in Explorer. Let's say you tend to use WordPad all the time. Rather than going through all the sub-menus in the Start menu, you could make it appear right away. In Explorer, we'll find WordPad. It is located in the Accessories folder, which can be found under the Program Files folder on the C drive. Now we'll just drag and drop it on the Start button and open the Start menu. Voila! We see WordPad right here at the top of the menu. We can do this for as many applications as we want. They will all appear above Programs, but only one can be at the top. Another thing we can do in Explorer is format disks. You can choose a 3.5-inch disc or a 5.25-inch disc. 5.25-inch discs are starting to go the way of the 8-track, and if you have a new machine, you may not even have a 5.25-inch drive. At any rate, formatting is the same for either type of disc. We insert the disc we wish to format into the proper drive. We'll use the 3.5-inch drive. So we'll right-click on the 3.5-inch drive icon in the left column. Now we click on the Format option, and a Format dialog box appears. The Format dialog box has a lot of stuff in it, and most of it seems really technical. Here's all you really need to know. This is where you select the media capacity, such as 1.44 megabytes or 720 kilobytes. With the Capacity List box, you're telling the computer what kind of disk you want to format. The 1.44 megabyte option is for a standard high-density 3.5-inch disk, while the 720 kilobyte option is for a double-density 3.5-inch disk. You'll also have to choose the format type. You do that with these radio buttons. Quick Erase completely erases a disk that has been previously formatted. The full option, the mother of all formatting options, is what we'll use if we have a new disk that's never been formatted before. The Copy System Files Only option allows us to make a previously formatted disk bootable without harming any data that may already be on the disk. Now, making a disk bootable means that we can start up our computer using that disk. Be careful. Do not format a disk if it has anything on it you need. In fact, if you have a disk with files you need, don't format it at all. I repeat, don't format it at all. Like files and folders, disks can be labeled by using the text box. We'll give this disk a funny name. If you don't want to name it, click the No Label checkbox, or simply leave the label text box blank. If you're one of those people who just loves information and detailed reports, such as accountants, bankers, and bookies, then check right here in the Display Summary When Finished box. When you finish formatting the disk, a window will display how many bytes are available on the disk and other information. If we wanted to be able to start up the computer with the disk we are formatting, we need to check the Copy System Files checkbox. The files necessary to boot your computer will automatically be copied to the disk when it is done formatting. After choosing the options you want, click Start, and then the computer will do the actual work of formatting your disk. So, in a nutshell, Explorer is a very practical and handy way to manage your files. It lets you look at everything your computer has in one column and lets you see the contents of all your files and folders in another column right next to it. With the help of some characters from literature and film, we saw how easy it is to move and copy files and folders, to customize your start menu, and to format a disk. Good luck, Dorothy. See you in Kansas. If you could design your own remote control, you'd probably program it to skip commercials. It would even automatically change the channel as soon as certain cheesy TV themes started. It would be a perfect world. Well, that's pretty much what the control panel does. It allows us to adjust the computer to look and work the way we want it to. With the control panel, we can adjust our keyboard and mouse, access modems, add new hardware, and add and remove programs with ease. Let's start by opening the Control Panel's window. First, we'll click on the Start menu. Then we'll select Control Panel from the Settings submenu. In here, we see the mouse icon. Let's double-click to open it. The Mouse Properties dialog box pops up. At the top of the window, you'll see the Button tab, where you can adjust various things such as the button configuration and the double-click speed. Other tabs, such as pointers and motion, allow you to adjust things like pointer icons, pointer speed, and a pointer trail. We encourage you to play with your mouse. Don't worry, it won't bite. Okay, we'll close the Mouse Properties window, and we're back on the Control Panel window. You'll notice other options. Let's take a look at Date and Time. Date and Time allows you to program your computer to read 12 a.m., just like your VCR. Or you could even put in the real date and time. We'll close this and go to Display. Display is where you change the look of everything that comes up on your desktop, such as the background image. Now we'll look through the available wallpaper choices and pick one. Pressing the Apply button will put the wallpaper on our desktop. There. Just what we've always wanted. Happy, fluffy clouds. You'll never need to go outside again. You can also choose a screensaver. A screensaver prevents work on your computer from being burned into the screen by leaving it on there for a long time. For example, if you leave the message, "My boss has the IQ of an olive loaf," on the screen long enough, it will be permanently etched on the screen for him to enjoy long after he's fired you. So that's why we have screensavers. A screensaver pops up when your computer has been on for a while but has been inactive for a set period of time. To activate the screensaver, we select a screensaver type from its drop-down list box and set its wait period. In this case, we'll set it for 20 minutes, then select the OK command button. And now we wait. You may want to fast-forward your tape at this point. Nah, we're just kidding. We're not going to make you wait that long. Here's what it looks like. We'll remain in hyperspace until we hit a key or move the mouse. Next is Fonts. Fonts is that really cool guy who rides a motorcycle and hangs out with the Cunninghams. Hey! No, wait a minute. That's the Fonz. Fonts are typefaces for the characters on your keyboard. Your computer comes with a wide selection of fonts, and you can add many others. Let's take a look at some now. We'll double-click on the Fonts icon in the Control Panel window, and we're given the Fonts window. If we want to see what a particular font looks like, say Arial for example, we just double-click on it. We'll be shown every letter, number, and other character that particular font comes with. When we're done looking at the font, we'll click the Done command button. But wait, there's more. You may say to yourself, this font is pretty close to the one I want, but it's not exactly right. That's where a nifty new feature comes in. You can have all your fonts listed in order of similarity. Let's use Arial. If we want to know what other fonts we have that look like Arial, we'll go into the View menu and select the List Fonts by Similarity item. Then in the drop-down list box, we type in or choose Arial. We'll see the fonts most similar to Arial are listed first. Now, based on whether or not we like Arial, we can choose the font we want. If we think that Arial is mutt ugly, we might want to choose a font closer to the bottom of the list. Okay, enough about fonts. Let's close this out and move on to the keyboard. The keyboard allows adjustments to be made just like the ones we made for our mouse. For example, we can adjust how long we have to hold down a key before it repeats itself. It can be super quick, or we can slow it down. Play around to see what you like best, but do that on your own time. We're going to check out Systems. Systems allows us to view information about the way our computer is set up. This is a holding bin for guru terms you've probably never seen. Attempting to modify these settings could cause serious problems unless you really know what you're doing. So please consult your physician before operating. Now let's look at passwords. Say there are several people who will be using the computer. Each of them will probably want to set it up in their own way. Your sister likes the desktop with a blue chiffon pattern. Well, you get sick at the very sight of it. Rather than readjusting your settings each time you use it, you can get the computer to remember your settings and give them to you by default when you log on. Here's how to do it. Once we're happy with everything, we'll open Passwords. The dialog box appears. Next, we'll choose the radio button that allows users to customize their settings. When we're finished, we'll click the OK command button. Now we'll log on as a different user. Type in our name. Now our password. The password is Rosebud. Our password won't actually appear on the screen. It will be masked by X's to prevent nosy people from looking over our shoulder and finding it out. Windows 95 will now ask us to confirm our password. Once this password is entered, our desktop pattern, screensaver, shortcuts, and whatever other adjustments we made will be there for us every time we log on with this name and password. By clicking Yes, we retain our user settings. Now we'll go back to the control panel and take a look at modems. It's basically just used for installing and configuring modems. For those of you who don't know, a modem is like a translator between a phone and a computer. If we have a modem and it's properly installed, this is where we tell the computer what modem we have so we can use it. We only have to do this once, and Windows 95 will remember it. If we know the make and model of the modem, we'll check this box. If not, we'll leave the box unchecked. Windows 95 knows its modems. If it recognizes our modem, and chances are that it will, it tells us which modem we just installed. Then all we have to do is confirm it's the correct modem. Once we have given Windows 95 all of the information it needs, the next button will become a Finish button. We then click the Finish button, and our modem is ready to go. Now we can break into important government files and learn all their secrets, like where to buy a hammer for $487. There are two new features in Windows 95 we should be particularly aware of. The first is Add New Hardware. Now, remember what we just did to install a new modem? Well, Add New Hardware lets us do the same thing with every other type of hardware. It lets us tell the computer what we're installing, or the computer can figure it out by itself. It's very easy. We turn the computer off, plug in our hardware and turn the computer on. Now we open Add New Hardware in the control panel and follow the prompts. The nice thing about this is that Windows 95 really holds our hand and walks us through every step. In other words, it assumes that we know nothing. Which brings us to Plug and Play. All we need to know about Plug and Play is that with Windows 95, our computer now has it. When we go to buy new hardware, we'll look for the Plug and Play tag on the label. This tells us our computer will be able to recognize the hardware and install it effortlessly. Similar to Add New Hardware is Add Remove Programs. This lets us, what else, add and remove programs. Like Add New Hardware, it walks us through every step. With this device, we can add software to our computer with the greatest of ease. In a nutshell, the control panel allows us to set the computer up to look and function the way we like it. We learned how to adjust the mouse and keyboard. We set up the desktop to look the way we want it. We set up our own password to get the computer to automatically give us our preferences. We found a new way to access fonts. And we learned how easy it is to install new hardware and programs. So as we've shown, the control panel is a lot like your remote control, except your computer is much less likely to get lost in the sofa. What if you want to print or use DOS? You may even ask, how can I get a printout of every French restaurant in the world named Chez Baba? There's so many questions. In this next section, we'll cover the following: clipboard, including editing, copying, pasting, and such; keyboard shortcuts; printing; briefcase; CD-ROM; and DOS. First up is clipboard. Do you remember in grade school when you had those little scissors that couldn't cut butter and were only good for tracing alligator shapes? Or how about that sticky stuff made from a water and flour combination called paste? Well, in theory, Windows 95 uses those same principles, except with less mess. It's called cutting and pasting. We're going to open up the file Dorothy to see how cutting and pasting works. Here's Dorothy, right where we left her in the Oz folder. We double-click to open and see that Dorothy has her blue and white checkered dress, her bike, and the basket she carries Toto in. Wait a second, something's missing. It seems that someone's taken her ruby slippers. We'll have to find them. We'll minimize the WordPad window with the Dorothy file for just a moment while we search for the culprit. Let's open up the flying monkey. He looks pretty suspicious. There's a couple of bananas, a weird little vest, and just as we suspected, the flying monkey has taken Dorothy's ruby slippers. We'll cut and paste them back to Dorothy by using the Windows 95 clipboard. First, we'll highlight the ruby slippers by placing our pointer before the R in ruby, holding down the left mouse button, and dragging to the end of the word slippers. When we let go of the mouse button, the ruby slippers are selected. Next, we select Cut from the Edit menu, and Dorothy's ruby slippers are removed from the flying monkey's possession and take up residence on the clipboard. The clipboard temporarily stores any information that is cut or copied. We won't actually see the clipboard unless we ask Windows 95 to show it to us. To see what's currently on the clipboard, we'll go to the Start menu and choose Clipboard Viewer from the Accessories submenu under Programs. Here we see the ruby slippers that we cut from the Flying Monkey file. Now let's paste those slippers back into the Dorothy file where they belong. First, we'll close the Clipboard Viewer and the Flying Monkey file. Next, we click on the Dorothy WordPad button in the taskbar to bring up the Dorothy file again. Then we'll click once at the end of the list of items to put the cursor where we want the ruby slippers to appear. Now all we have to do is select Paste from the Edit menu, and there they are. A perfect fit. Once something has been cut or copied to the clipboard, it can be pasted over and over again until something new is cut or copied or until Windows is shut down. That means we could give a pair of ruby slippers to the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Lion as well, but they probably wouldn't look as cute on them as they do on Dorothy. Just remember, every time we cut or copy, the previous information on the clipboard is gone forever. So we have to be sure of what we're doing when we cut and copy. Sometimes you will use the same command over and over and over and over and over, well, you know. And that means spending way too much time going into menus for every little thing we want to do. If there is a command that we constantly use, we can learn how to bypass the mouse and use accelerator keys to save time. An accelerator key is a command combining either Alt, Control, or Shift with a letter from the keyboard to execute a command. For example, let's look at the Dorothy file again in WordPad. If we wanted to select everything in the file at once, we would open the Edit menu and choose the Select All item. This seems easy enough, but there's an even easier way. Let's take a closer look at the Edit menu choices. Notice that to the right of the Select All option, you see Control plus A. Remember those keys. Now close the menu by clicking outside of it somewhere. We can now select all again, but without using the mouse this time. By holding down the Control key and pressing the A key, we can execute the Select All command, but with much less time and effort than pulling down the Edit menu and choosing it. Like the Select All command, we can find all available accelerator keys to the right of their corresponding command in a menu. Use these if you feel your mouse could use a breather. Whether it's a report for work or a spreadsheet or Grandma Willie's favorite cookie recipe, printing is the same in all Windows 95 applications. One way is quite conventional. To print a document from any application such as WordPad, we choose Print from the File menu. A dialog box will appear, and with this dialog box we can request which pages we want to print, the number of copies we want, and which properties of our printer to use. When we've made all of our selections, we click the OK command button, and bada bing, we're printing. But wait, there's more. Suppose that we want to print several files at once, but we don't want to open each one to print them. Well, first, let's close WordPad. Next, we'll go to the Start menu and choose Printers from the Settings submenu. Now we simply right-drag the printer icon to the desktop and choose Create Shortcut Here from the pop-up menu. Voila! Our shortcut to the printer is now ready. We can use the printer shortcut to print a file or even multiple files simply by dragging the icons of the files we want printed and dropping them on the printer shortcut icon. For example, if we want to print everything in the Kansas folder, we could select all of the files and drag them to the printer shortcut. Windows 95 will ask us if we are sure we want to do this. We select Yes, and off go the files to the printer. Now here's a situation. We have a computer at home, we have a computer at work. If we update a file at home, we may want to update that same file at work. Easy. Use a briefcase. A briefcase is what business people use to carry snacks, cards, video games, magazines, and an occasional superhero outfit. Well, that's one kind of briefcase. Windows 95's briefcase allows a file to remain the same on two different computer systems. Let's create a briefcase on the desktop. We do this by clicking anywhere on the desktop with the right mouse button and selecting New Briefcase from the pop-up menu. Now we have a briefcase on our desktop called New Briefcase. Let's rename it to My Briefcase. Next, we go to Explorer. We'll copy our Oz folder to the briefcase so we can work on it on another computer. We do this just like copying anything else, by using the right mouse button to drag the Oz folder to the My Briefcase icon, except that now we select Make Sync Copy from the pop-up menu. Let's check the briefcase to be sure that our information is there. Well, there's Oz, so our briefcase is ready. Now let's put our briefcase on a floppy disk to take home. First, we'll insert a disk in our floppy drive. We then click and drag the My Briefcase icon to the floppy drive icon, and our briefcase folder is copied. Now we can eject the disk and update it on another computer. Here we have our computer at home. We'll insert the disk and open the briefcase in Explorer. Let's open the Oz folder and update the Munchkins file. We enter our new information, then save and close our file. Now we eject the disk and go back to update our original file on our computer at work. Once again, we place the disk in the floppy drive and look at the contents in Explorer. When we click on the My Briefcase icon on the floppy with the right mouse button, a pop-up menu gives us a list of options. If we select Update All, we'll then be prompted with a dialog box to begin the updating process. Here we can see which files have been modified and when. All we have to do now is click the Update button at the bottom of the dialog box, and the files on our computer at work are updated with the changes we just made at home. So, what happens if we have not modified any files since the last update? Let's check it out by trying to update My Briefcase again, since we know that none of its files have been changed from our last update a few moments ago. The computer simply tells us that all of our files are up to date. Here's another question. What if we want to disassociate a file or folder in a briefcase from its original? For example, if we updated some files in the Oz folder at home, but we didn't want those changes to be on the original versions at work, what do? Well, we can split the folder from the original. That means it's separated from the original and can no longer be updated. To split the Oz folder in My Briefcase, we click on the folder with the right mouse button. Then from the pop-up menu, we choose the Properties item. Notice the Update Status tab at the top of the window. When we click this tab, Windows 95 gives us the status of the folder. Now all we have to do is click the Split from Original command button. A dialog box will appear asking if we're sure we want to prevent any future updates of Oz. If we click Yes, the operation is complete. Now Oz is an individual folder again, also known as an orphan. And yes, the sun will come out tomorrow. Most new computers today come with a built-in CD-ROM drive. A CD-ROM is very similar to an audio CD, but it can contain more than just music. It could have video, photographs, text, and more. If you have a CD-ROM drive, you can access it through the My Computer icon or through Explorer. The CD-ROM drive works very much the way a hard drive does, with one major difference. We cannot copy or save anything to a CD-ROM. We can only read data from it. In fact, this trait is where CD-ROM gets its name: Compact Disc Read-Only Memory. CD-ROMs are capable of holding vast amounts of information, such as entire encyclopedias, a world atlas, phone books, or even how to teach a dog Spanish in 55 easy lessons. Now on to DOS. Someday, computer whizzes will run around screaming, "You know, when I was a kid, we didn't have Windows. We had DOS. We had to use cryptic commands and a keyboard, and we liked it." Well, today, many people still use DOS. DOS has been around a long time, and it will continue to be around a while longer. Fact 1. Windows 95 in most respects completely replaces DOS. Fact 2. Many programs are designed to run under DOS and may not be very Windows friendly. Therefore, Fact 3. Windows 95 allows us to run our old DOS programs easily and without headaches. To run our DOS programs, here's what we do. From the Start menu, we go to Programs and select MS-DOS. When DOS first appears, it comes up in a window just like everything else. But you can run DOS full screen. To do this, just press Alt and Enter. A DOS screen will appear complete with a C prompt. From there, you can use DOS until your heart's content. To exit your DOS program, type Exit at the C prompt or press Alt and Enter again to return to the window. We'll type Alt Enter. From here, we simply click on the Close button and we're back in Windows. We've covered a lot of different things in this section. In a nutshell, we learned the concept behind the clipboard and what it does. We saw how we can use the keyboard to get to frequent commands without having to use the mouse. We created a printer shortcut. We used a briefcase to update a file quickly and easily. We learned about CD-ROM drives, and we saw that DOS is alive and well and living in your computer. Windows 95 has tapped into a universal truth. People hate manuals. They give paper cuts, they're hard to understand, and they're easily lost. That's why Windows 95's manual is in the computer, in the form of help. In case you run across something you still can't quite figure out, we're going to show you how to help yourself. With Windows 95, help is easy to access, easy to understand, and more comprehensive than ever. This entire section is one huge helpful hint, and it's loaded with new features. The main way to get to help is through your Start button. In the Help window, you'll notice there are 3 tabs: Contents, Index, and Find. Let's first look at the Contents tab. It's like standing in front of a set of encyclopedias. Each chapter is represented by a book icon, while each topic is represented by a page icon with a question mark. We'll find the book that has what we're looking for and open the chapter by double-clicking or by clicking once to select it and pressing Return on the keyboard. Let's double-click on the How To book icon. This reveals subtopics. By the way, you can always tell which book you're looking in because its icon will change from a closed book to an open book. A subtopic is the hot region located near the equator. No, wait, that's subtropic. A subtopic is part of a topic and is also represented by a book icon. To see what is listed under a subtopic, double-click on its icon. In this case, we'll double-click on the book labeled Change Windows Settings. Diving in deeper, we're going to double-click on the Change How Windows Looks icon. Now we can see the actual topics, each one appearing as a page icon with a question mark. To view what's in a topic, we'll double-click on the page icon, or single-click and press Return. Let's view the topic entitled Changing the Background of the Desktop. What we'll see is a Help window. In the Help window, we'll get the valuable information we're looking for. But wait, There's more information here than meets the eye or any other facial feature. See these words underlined with a dotted line? These are called glossary terms or pop-ups. If we click on one, a mini window comes up to give us a definition of the word. When we're finished reading it, we'll point anywhere and click. The definition goes away. Another thing found in help windows are these little buttons right here. No, a little further down, right here, called shortcuts. Shortcut buttons are neat little devices that take you directly to the subject you're getting help on. The idea is this. We looked for help on changing the background of our desktop. We found out what we needed, so now we want to make a change. Rather than exiting help and then going to the display control panel, we can just click the shortcut button and we're there. It's so easy we won't even break a sweat. Now let's close the display properties window and get back to help again. To do this, we close the display window and click on the Help Topics button at the top of the Windows Help window. An alternative to get to all of these helpful topic pages is by using the index. Click once on the Index tab. There are two ways we can find things using the index. One way is to browse through all the stuff in this list box. When we find something, double-click on it, and away we go. To get back to the index list, we just click on the Help Topics button at the top of the Help window. We can also use this text box to specify what's shown in the list box. For example, if we type in background, the list box will then automatically scroll to the first item containing the word background. We press the return key, and another window will pop up with a list of topics to choose from based on our selection. We're going to choose the first item, changing the background of your desktop. And here we are again, back at how to change the background of the desktop. Only this time we went through the Help Index instead of Help Contents. Another thing you should be aware of is the Related Topics button. If we click on it, we'll see a window like this which shows topics related to what we were just looking at. If there are several related items, we can double-click one and we'll be given a new Help Topic page for that item. It's just another convenient, easy way to cross-reference. Once we find something in Help, we may want to print it to have and to hold so we don't have to keep looking it up in the computer. We all know how frustrating that is. Windows 95's Help makes this easy. At the top of the Help window, there's an Options button. We select it and get a menu which includes an option to Print Topic. By selecting this menu item, we can print everything on that topic page. Help is easily within reach no matter where you are in Windows 95. In fact, most programs have their own Help menu, like WordPad, for example. Let's open WordPad. We'll choose Help Topics from the WordPad Help menu and see a familiar site, the Help Topics window. Except now, the topics available are limited to those relating specifically to WordPad. Pretty impressive, huh? Okay, let's click on the Cancel button or the Close box to return to WordPad. By now you're probably saying, wow, this new help is amazing. Well done, Windows 95. But we're not finished. Let's close WordPad and open the Display Control Panel. Many of the windows you'll be working on give you instant access to help. You'll know you can use this when you see the little question mark in a Windows title bar. This handy feature lets us get information on specific items within your window. For example, say we want to find out specifically what the difference is between pattern and wallpaper. We go to the question mark and click once. Our pointer now has a question mark beside it. With our new pointer, we click on the Pattern List box. A little window pops up which tells us exactly what it does. Now we go to Wallpaper and do the same thing. A description follows. As if that's not easy enough, there's an even quicker way of doing it, and it means using that nifty little right mouse button. This time, we'll point directly to the Pattern List box and click the right mouse button. A What's This prompt appears. Now we left-click on the prompt, and the description appears again. With all these handy and easy-to-understand features, there's no reason to hesitate using Help. In a nutshell, we just saw how easy it is to access and understand help. We learned about the new setup of the contents and index tabs. We found out what pop-ups, chapters, subtopics, and shortcuts are all about. We saw that many applications have their very own Help Topics menu. And we learned how the right mouse button can give us quick, helpful hints about most items in a window. So, when you're down and troubled and you need a helping hand, well, you know what to do. My friends and I have certainly enjoyed bringing you this video, and we encourage you now to watch it again with your computer and pause when you want to practice. Remember, your computer is just a tool. You're in control. To gain even more control, try our next video, Windows 95 Without Headaches Extra Strength, for a more detailed, in-depth look at the advanced features of Windows 95. But for now, you're on your way to becoming a computer guru yourself. So congratulations, and thanks for watching.